Next on Up Close, in his 9 years in the NFL, he was 9 times an All-Pro. He set the standard for what a great running back should be. Hall of Famer Jim Brown on why he left at the top of his game. Who's the top runner in today's game? How did the murder trial taint O.J. Simpson's accomplishments for life? And whose fault is it that Cleveland is without an NFL franchise? Up Close is up next.
From the ESPN studios in Los Angeles, here's Chris Myers.
Hi, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. He's not only been called the greatest running back in history, in a recent book by Burt Randolph Sugar entitled The 100 Greatest Athletes of All Time, he was number 1. We welcome number 32 for the Browns when he played actor and Hall of Fame running back Jim Brown. Nice to have you on the show. I really appreciate you coming by.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and you know, I loved you in Dirty Dozen. I saw it was on cable the other night and watched. That seems like a long time since one of your 25, 30 films.
1965. It's a classic now, and I enjoy doing it.
With Lee Marvin. Any movies in the near future for you?
Yes, Tim Burton, who's a great director, hired me for Mars Attacks, and it should be out in December.
All right, so
great cast. Great cast.
Another film.
I really enjoy doing it.
You're, what, 60 years old now?
60 years old, yes.
And still in shape.
Sort of.
still doing films. Over your 60 years, anything you would have done differently in your life? The one thing that you'd like to have changed if you could?
Well, you see, the thing about going back is that if you deal with the negative, then you got to deal with the positive. There was a balance of negative and positive. And of course, I would hope that I did not do the negative things that I've done in my life, but you can't do anything about it. So I wouldn't go back and try to change that, because we're on a journey, and you have to make choices. And hopefully now, with that knowledge, I can make much better choices.
What would you tell, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to a young person, a young adult, about living their life?
Well, I think the same thing I'd say to a young person, I would say to an older person. I think humanity and education are two of the most important things you could do. I think to help other people to be a humanitarian in your thoughts and in your deeds, and to become as educated as possible, because education is a weapon. Your mind can deliver you if you apply it properly. So I'm equipped with an educational background, and it's my best weapon.
It came, of course, from Syracuse and then went on to play in the NFL. 1957, you come into the NFL, you play for 9 years, and then in 65, you're the MVP, you win your second MVP award, and you walk away from the game at the age of 29, still
I'm glad you said 29. It was 29, not 30.
Some people say 30, right, but still on top of your game, and that's a young age even for a professional athlete. Jim, why did you leave at that time?
Because I understood the nature of the profession. I was a gladiator. Art Modell was the owner. He invested the money, he had the power, and he called the shots. I utilized it, I loved it, I had fun, and I left because I understood timing. I left at the age 29 years old, MVP. Conversation over. I don't have to get into that conversation anymore. So that was it. I was going into the movies. I was going to make more money. I was going to deal with pretty women. I was going to travel all over the world. And that also made sense. And I prepared myself for the movies while I played. So it wasn't a big question. A lot of people that love the game say you should have stayed, but no, there was no reason to stay.
Did you accomplish all that you wanted to? I mean, when you look back now, some of your records, you could have tacked on a lot more.
Well, you see, that's a very strange kind of conversation. You know, I played 9 years. About 4 of those years were 12 games. 5 were 14 games. I never missed a game. Obviously, I didn't play for records, and I naturally wouldn't look back and figure I had to stay for records. So I don't want to, you know, make you feel strange by asking me the question, but there's no thought of that kind of thing in my mind.
Did you have in your mind that 9 years was going to be the number, or did you say, when I get to this point, as you mentioned, MVP, and that's when I can make the jump out of the game into the next step of my life?
No, what I did is try to have fun with the game, mentally, physically. You know, look forward to doing other things, prepare myself. I worked for 9 years for Pepsi-Cola when I played ball. I never took a vacation. And so I learned all about marketing.
What's the most money you made, excuse me, while you were playing as a football player?
Probably about $85,000.
For 1 year?
And that was sufficient, you know, because at the time, $100,000 probably worth $1 million. And I have a home now that I wouldn't sell, so it was worth it. But no, in about my 7th year, I started looking at retirement, and then I decided that I would retire after my 9th year.
Is it true, I read somewhere, that you had nightmares after leaving the game?
Nightmares?
Nightmares. Maybe about doing this show, possibly. No, I mean, maybe, was it about...
No, maybe in my book, or maybe I had an interview where I said that sometimes I would dream about running the ball. You know, I would have dreams that I was back.
When you were out of the game, you dreamt
When I was out of the game, I might dream that I was back, and I was always struggling to do what I did, but I never quite made it, so someone else might call that a nightmare. It wasn't really a nightmare, though.
So you weren't in fear at all, leaving something that you were good at and that you accomplished much at, that you were going into an area that was relatively unknown in terms of how successful you would be?
Well, I had choices. You know, I graduated from Syracuse in 4 years. I worked for Pepsi-Cola for 9 years. I saved some of my money. And no, I had no fear whatsoever, because in America, it's a free country, and if you work hard and apply yourself, you can be successful. If you don't put your lifestyle too high and your cost of living is too high. So I always kept my feet on the ground. You know, I live in a very economical manner. So no, to explore different things and have different choices was, to me, a pleasure.
When Michael Jordan announced his retirement, I remember you saying at the time, hey, this is a good thing. He shouldn't try to come back. Don't taint his image. He left the game on top. You actually applauded that. Then he comes back, and Jordan wins another NBA title and proves that he's the best ever in his profession, at least. What was your take of that?
Well, do you really want it?
Yeah, I really was. That's why I asked it.
I think there was a problem in the league. I think it had a lot to do with the gambling. I think it had a lot to do with the situation.
You think that Michael Jordan had a gambling problem? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think that. The facts of his golf gambling came out. There was a thing about, I think, a $50,000 check. There is a thing of possibility of money laundering, not Michael laundering money, but when you play golf with gamblers and underworld characters, or shady characters, or hustlers, there's a thing about good money and getting money into circulation. And I think that the meeting with the commissioner didn't really come off, and I think that there was a situation that made him retire. And I think he was very glad to get back. And you know, I'm saying these things just out of honesty, you know.
So this is your opinion?
Yes, it's my opinion, based upon some of the facts. I mean, John Wooden at UCLA, I don't think he retired because he wanted to. I think there were improprieties going on, and I think a deal was made. So that's my opinion. With
Michael Jordan, does this change your view of the kind of player or person he is?
Well, let me put it this way. I think he's a tremendous player. I think his work ethics, his team efforts, unbelievable player. You know, as a human being, I don't know. He doesn't walk in my territories. He is an elitist, and Phil Knight would be the guy that one would have to talk to. He'd probably talk to Mike, because Phil has all the money. So I'm not in that particular arena. I hang out in the other areas, and I deal with my own self-determination. And I don't hold this against anyone who's in that position, because in America, if you do the right things and if you have tremendous athletic ability, don't rock the boat. Don't get into racial matters. Don't talk to Minister Farrakhan. Don't do those things. Then you make more and more and more money, and you become like a one-man corporation. And I guess it's good, but then Rome is burning because the kids are killing each other in these black neighborhoods, and drugs are running rampant, and education is going down. But hey.
The athlete continues to play his game. We'll continue with Jim Brown. We'll talk about another ex-athlete who people can't seem to stop talking about, O.J. Simpson. We'll get Jim Brown's thoughts on this issue when we come back up close from Los Angeles.
Up Close is brought to you by Volvo. Volvo reminds you to drive safely. And by Hager, stuff you can wear.
Seems like a good time to introduce the new, more responsive Volvo 850 GL2. Drive safely.
Cover for me. I've got the plans.
You got your pill. You can't be taken alive.
I saw you on the monitors.
Your clothes, they're casual, yet appropriate.
City casuals look good at the office, no matter what kind of day you're having. Hager, stuff you can wear.
Let's go, guys.
Now that Sprint is the official telecommunications provider to the NFL, the teams can do business in a whole new way.
Now here's the play. Toss 38 on 2.
Right, coach. They can use Sprint broadcast fax.
Hey, guys.
Data networking.
I just cracked their defense. Get out of the way. Can't see.
And video conferencing.
Go, go, go.
Sprint helps the whole NFL win. Let us help your business do more business. Call Sprint Business.
Kid, you got the talent, but you got a problem. You're too nice. We'll fix that.
Okay, Mr. Lambert.
That's how you do it. Good start, kid. Tomorrow, headbutts.
Welcome back to Up Close. Thanks for staying with us. We're talking with Jim Brown, Hall of Fame running back, formerly a special consultant with the Browns, and we'll talk about the Browns bailing on Cleveland. But in the late 50s, early 60s, when racial tension was high and you were a professional athlete and a star in the game, were you treated differently because you were an athlete?
Oh, yes, of course. That's natural in our society. You know, athletes usually adore.
But differently based on your color because you were an athlete. I guess I should have made that more clear.
Let me continue, because it isn't just a matter of color. You know, I must specify that athletes themselves are treated different. Then if you happen to be a black American, you are treated better as an athlete than you would be just as yourself being black. And so, yes, I went through that because I came up in the 50s and the 60s, and we fought against that tremendously. Almost every black athlete in the country was very conscious of trying to break those barriers down, perform at the highest level, and make a change. Unfortunately, a lot of young men of today don't recognize that because they bear the fruit from that particular labor. And as I said earlier, the younger generation is going nowhere.
Well, and society tends to place athletes on a pedestal. What is the danger in that? What did you see experiencing that?
Well, the danger is what you have now in the O.J. situation. You know, O.J. was made out to be the person we should all emulate. And, and he was made out to be this particular hero. And no one ever took a closer look. They didn't want to take a closer look. And even people that knew that O.J. wasn't as perfect as they wanted him to be did not stand up and have the courage to say that. Now you have people who are so guilt-ridden because they put their trust in him and they believe in this particular image. And that image will always come back and fail you, because in order to be a true American, you have to rock the boat, because freedom, equality, and justice has to be for everyone. So if I just stay cool and make millions and deal with the image that white America want me to have, at some point that shadowy background is going to come out and it's going to disillusion everyone.
Well, the O.J. subject, and it may be a tired subject, but I'm still fascinated by it. And I think you and I are the only ones who haven't written a book about it. And the question here is, did O.J. lean on his color when it was convenient during this trial?
Well, that's obvious. You know, I mean, of course he did. And I did this show when Roy Firestone was here, and he used to challenge me about O.J., and he used to put up clips. And I used to talk about going into the ghettos and into the community, and O.J. used to say, well, I'm never going to make a lot of money, and I should stop complaining about the athletes who don't do that. And now, of course, he is using that to the hilt. Unfortunately, in this country, black people suffer so much from police brutality and racism until a person like O.J. can take advantage of that right now. Because a lot of black people are hurting, so his skin color is black, even though he didn't live black. So they embrace him in his fight against the establishment. And it's unfortunate, because I would never be that weak. I don't think that all the people that think O.J. is guilty that are white are racist. I think there are a lot of people that care about two people, one being Nicole and one being Ron. And I think that these two individuals have been forgotten in this whole deal about O.J. It is so twisted. It's American tragedy at this particular time. Everything about it is negative.
Do you think O.J. would have been found not guilty if he were not black and not a celebrity former athlete?
Well, I mean, that's a heck of a question.
I don't know. You're throwing out some interesting answers.
That's deep. Let me put it to you this way. The prosecution, to me, was the worst. It presented the worst case I've ever seen.
You followed this closely.
I mean, it was terrible. It was amateur time in Dixie. Therefore, an injustice was done because the state did not put forth the kind of prosecution that it should have. And I don't want to comment on the outcome of it, because when you deal with the ambiguous term of reasonable doubt and you put people, a jury up there, that jury is going to find reasonable doubt when the prosecution allows them to have so many areas to question.
Before the break, have you talked to O.J. or attempted to contact him? Has he attempted to contact you?
No, I'm not going to talk to O.J.
You don't think you could do him some good?
No, I'm not going to talk to him. If he wants to talk to me and talk about the truth and stand up and be what I consider a man, then I'll talk to him, but I'm not going to talk to him.
All right, we'll continue with Jim Brown. We'll talk about those playing days in Cleveland and whose fault is it there's not an NFL team in Cleveland. How soon will they get one back in that city? We're up close with Jim Brown, the Hall of Famer. We'll have more in a moment. Don't go away.
Music Express, voted #1 by the National Limousine Association, has offices in Los Angeles and on the East Coast. Music Express can handle your corporate needs anywhere in the U.S. and worldwide. And guests of Up Close stay at the Beverly Prescott, L.A.'s premier boutique hotel. Call your travel agent to make reservations at the Beverly Prescott, a Kimpton hotel.
When Democratic leadership cut waste from Middlesex County government, they didn't just trim around the edges. They made real cuts, eliminating departments, reducing bureaucracy by 300 employees, and cutting wasteful spending 3 years in a row. And thanks to effective Democratic management, the result is the best parks, recycling, and community college. A plan to revive our waterfront and thousands of acres of open space preserved for us and future generations. Elect Dave Crabeel Camille Fernicola, freeholder. Congestion choking, open space disappearing. Is this how your families will remember East Brunswick? Or will it be this? Bill Neary and his team know what East Brunswick should be. As mayor, he'll strengthen our neighborhoods, stop the deals with developers, preserve open space for future generations. Bill Neary, Ed Brotman, Don Klemp. For our families, for our neighborhoods, for East Brunswick.
Will be 7:30 p.m.
Monday nights, your NFL action starts at 7:30. Mike Tirico, Sterling Sharp, and Joe Theismann take you deep inside the NFL. It's time to catch NFL Prime Monday. Monday nights at 7:30, only on ESPN.
Just ahead on SportsCenter, Alan Bennis or Donovan Osborne, who starts Game 6 for the Cards. Will a broken toe prevent the Straw from starting the series? And Dan Marino hopes to start sooner than you think. Join the gang on SportsCenter, 6:30 Eastern.
What I tell you, after 10 years of nosebleed seats, front, center, 50-yard line.
Man, how'd you do it?
Scalper.
Not going anywhere for a while?
Must be a 4 o'clock game.
Yeah.
Grab a Snickers.
You're the man.
We're up close with Jim Brown, who played 9 years in Cleveland. That's funny stuff. Those commercials
it really is.
are
That's great stuff.
But not funny that there's no NFL team in Cleveland, a city that really embraced pro football. Are you angry still that there isn't a team playing there currently?
Angry still? I never was angry.
You were never upset about the team leaving? Didn't bother you?
Well, let's shift emphasis. Well, I'll answer it that way. Why should it bother me? I'm involved in a high-tech money-making era. The Phil Knights, the Jerry Joneses, the Art Models in business to make money. You guys make money. It's big business. The city of Cleveland did not respond to Art Modell. Art Modell made a move with Baltimore. They are now the Ravens. They were fortunate enough, Cleveland's fortunate enough to have the name and the colors. In '99, they'll have a new stadium and a new team. There's no tragic situation there. The fans are always victims. They're the last people that's being considered in these situations. But that's the unfortunate part of it. But for me, a former player, I run the American program. I'm in 14 states. I'm in education across this country dealing with gang members and convicts. For me to be angry about Modell making a business deal that's illegal would be ridiculous.
Well, you were a special consultant for the Cleveland Browns, I believe, in '93 when you took on the job.
3 years, yes.
Did you see this coming? Did Art Modell talk to you about it? Could it have been stopped somewhere along the way?
I had no idea it was coming. Caught me totally by surprise. It caught everybody by surprise. And I think even Art himself was surprised that he did it so quickly, because I think it was a kind of a deal that Baltimore wanted to consummate because they had been used for a bargaining tool so many times. So no, it caught me totally by surprise.
What kind of toll did it take on Art Modell?
I think it was very difficult. Art is old now. He's been sickly a little bit. He likes to be loved, and he didn't really get a hearing there. Mayor White and...
It seems like through the eyes of the fans, he's the bad guy.
Well, of course he's the bad guy because he made the final decision. But he didn't want to do that. And he suffered a lot from the way people look at him, how they perceive him. And he is a top businessman.
Describe for me, if you could, we think of the dog pound, the current days. When you played that era, what the atmosphere was like playing with those fans and at that location?
Greatest fans in the country. Great stadium, 80,000 people. They love me in Cleveland. I still get great handshakes there, and I'm always welcome. I loved it. The fans I always talked about as being consistent. Whenever I didn't like management or anything else, I always said the Cleveland fans were the best in the country.
And of course, you had time with Paul Brown and then Art Modell, and you are active currently in at least helping bring the new franchise to Cleveland.
Well, I'm dealing, well, not officially, I'm dealing with Dick Shafraff and a lot of the players and we're more concerned about the fans and keeping their interest and letting them know that we are still Cleveland Browns, we're not Ravens. And we're going to do everything that we can do to help that be successful.
We'll continue talking with Jim Brown. We'll talk about playing in pain. He never missed a game in his 9-year career, averaged over 200 carries per season, and also his thought on the best runners of today, where they rank all time among the running greats. We'll be back in a moment.
All across America, there to see us through. Just around the corner, my neighborhood Jiffy Lube.
Racing engines endure severe stress, and your engine does too. That's why Jiffy Lube recommends service every 3,000 miles, and we offer Pennzoil.
3,000 miles, you make us smile. America's Jiffy Lube.
Jiffy Lube, America's favorite oil change.
I'm an inventor of one of the world's strongest fibers, Kevlar. I started the work in 1964. It proved to be a time of great joy, of frustration. Kevlar is used in ski racing, in helmet, golf, tennis rackets, bullet-resistant vests. I'm still working for DuPont. Every day is a new learning experience.
Better things for better living.
DuPont.
ESPN News? Yeah, great. Great timing, guys. Played for 13 years and I retire, and now you're coming out with this sports news channel? Oh, this is great. All these scores and highlights are really going to help my career. Look at me now. Gardening. Thanks from the bottom of my heart. No, really, truly, thanks. I appreciate it. Idiots. Ridiculous. Morons. You guys want to kick my dog while you're here?
Thursday at Up Close, we'll talk with Carolina linebacker Kevin Green, who still plays with that wild passion of his. On Friday, we'll talk hoops with Derek Coleman. He'll tell us why we should expect a career rebirth with him playing in Philadelphia. Up next, more with Jim Brown, playing in pain, how he did it compared to today's players.
Look, you're not going to believe this, but Goodyear retailers have lowered prices at an amazing 25% on some of their most popular passenger, light truck, and performance tires. So call 1-800-GOODYEAR. Hurry, this sale ends soon.
Boston Market, the place that made hot hand-carved Boston Carver sandwiches famous, proudly announces the new $4 Chicken Carver Combo. A chicken carver, side, and regular soft drink for $4. Hurry in for a chicken carver piled high with real cheese on a bakery roll, plus a freshly prepared individual side and a regular soft drink for just $4. The $4 Chicken Carver Combo, only at Boston Market.
Hurry in now. Offer ends October 20th.
We've been known as the Legion of Doom, but to be quite honest with you, we hate the name.
So now we are the artist formerly known as the Legion of Doom.
And this is our symbol.
Not bad. I think it goes the other way, though, Ernie.
Oh, sir.
Continental Airlines, the highest-ranked airline for flights 500 miles and more in the 1996 frequent flyer J.D. Power and Associates study.
It was October 1984. Walter Payton breaking Jim Brown's record for all-time rushing yards. Since that time, Eric Dickerson and Tony Dorsett have moved past Jim Brown on the list. Of course, Jim Brown in 9 years put up his numbers. It was 13 for Walter Payton, 13 for Eric Dickerson, and a dozen for Tony Dorsett. I mean, you talked about records not being all that important for you, that you didn't play for that. What impressed me was your average per carry, 5.2 yards, which is still an NFL record. Is there an accomplishment that you're more proud of than any of the other when you look back over your career, when people say, hey, what did you appreciate most about playing the game?
You mean record-wise?
Yeah, record-wise.
No. My accomplishment was the goals that I had in mind, which was to try to play every game, to try to play as hard as I could, you know, do the best that I could. And I was satisfied. I did what I thought I could do in 9 years, and I felt good about it. And that's for me. That doesn't change regardless of what happens. These other things you're talking about, they change, babe, because you don't want to talk about my 1969 Mercedes. It's a classic. But it can't outrun this Mustang that I just rented, you know. It's fast.
But playing, and you never missed a game. We talked about the carries and the pounding you took. How did you, and we said Burt Randolph Sugar referred to you as the greatest athlete of all time. What did you do to physically get through the wars?
Well, you see, the physical thing is easy. I had a lot of my gang members in last night, and we talked about doing something just because it's the right thing to do. In other words, you got to love the game and you got to play it because you love it. And you get in condition and you get mentally ready and you have a desire of your own. It doesn't take a coach to motivate you, the public, the media, anyone. I love the game. I played the game. I didn't want to miss the game. And that was my satisfaction. To come out of the game after 9 years and feel that I made a contribution, that satisfied my standard.
And you obviously played some games in pain. Brett Favre came out in the offseason, talked about misuse of painkillers, was applauded for admitting that, going through a rehab to clear up the problem. Just do you think, Jim, in your opinion today, that misuse of painkillers is a greater problem than players or the league are admitting?
Well, I would think you would have more of a problem that would come out publicly. I think we're going into the 21st century. And you're going to have a lot of things that go on in football that goes on into the general populace. So therefore, I think that there are a lot of problems that haven't been uncovered. Too many of them have been uncovered. Right. And then I think there's still some things that we don't know about.
Top running back today, who would you say the best runner
Barry
is?
Sanders.
Barry Sanders. Anybody that reminds you of the way Jim Brown played?
I don't think of it that way. Barry Sanders is great in his own right. Runners are great in their own right. Emmett is a great competitor, not as talented as Barry, but with a great team, and he really brings his talent to that team, I think. I think Emmett can play with certain teams. I think Barry can play in any era with any team.
It's an election year. Have you made up your mind who you're going to vote for?
Well, there's no doubt about it. The vice president candidate is my friend. He's the greatest fighter for freedom, equality, and justice in America, and especially for black people and Hispanics. That's Kemp. Therefore, Dole comes with him. I'm going to go down and register.
You're surprising me a little bit with this.
I know I am, because you think I'd be a normal Democrat waiting for somebody to deliver me. I'd rather deal with Republicans and deliver myself and make deals. I'm not looking to be in white neighborhoods with white folks and have anybody taking pity for me. I like to get off my butt, produce my own, do my financing, be a part of the system, and excel. I don't want pity. I don't want set-asides, and I'm not into affirmative action on a general level, although I know it's good for some people. Is that all right?
All right, that's okay. A vote for Kemp and Dole. We appreciate Jim Brown being with us. Join us on Thursday. Carolina linebacker Kevin Green will be here. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you then. Take care.